Hello, guys. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from wherever you're joining us from. Please let me know if you can hear me loud and clearly, please. All right. All right. Thank you, Ebenezer. Good evening. Good evening, Cyril. Good evening, Felicia. Good evening, Juliet. Hi, Adura Gbemi. All right, thank you very much, Juliet. Thank you, Kolawole. Kolawole, you want to see my face this evening? I'm a bit shy, Kolawole. Right? Could we just do tonight without the camera? Let's just do shortly so you can see my face and know I'm still alive and safe. Hi, everybody. Good evening. But I'm too handsome, guys. So I don't want my face distracting you guys during the course of class. Okay. All right. Good evening, Ade Aliyu. Good evening. Good evening, Karen Okori. Good evening, Roots. Good evening, Ichado. Lawrence, you don't believe me. You want to argue with me. Good evening, Joy. Good evening, Victor. I'm trying to call everybody today so everybody can be happy with me. Where did I stop? I missed now. I've missed some names. Good evening, namesake. I'm seeing somebody saying, okay, good evening, Tete Veronica. I hope I'm pronouncing the name correctly. Good evening, Dr. Honest. Good evening, Chi Buzo. Good evening, Joy. PTWTV. Good evening. Oh, good evening. Okay, somebody just said before I missed that message, I'm going to go back. Emmanuel Anthony. Okay, good evening. I hope you're happy with me now. All right. Good evening, Tema Biven. Good evening, Esther. Good evening, Yetunde. Good evening, Paul. Good evening, Adeoye. I'm having a lot of good evenings here. Is there anybody joining us from another part of the world? Thank you very much, Lawrence. Lawrence agrees that I am actually handsome. No, I'm not afraid that my face will be hacked. Come on, I have some of my pictures on the internet, so there's enough evidence for people to do some deep fake with my image, right? So yeah, thank you. Somebody joining from UAE, Damilola. Good evening, Oniyi A from Jamaica. How do they say? There's something Jamaicans usually say. I can't remember, but let me stay polite on this call. All right, thank you very much, Olu Wakemi Adekola from USA. Thank you very much. All right, thank you, Adegoke. Yeah, Adegoroye. Right, thanks for the compliment. I appreciate. Okay, Dokun said he's joining us all the way from the United States of Ogun. I'll be United of Ogun State. Nice to have you on this call, man. Nice to have you on this call from the United States of Ogun. All right, thank you. This is Olga Lepgatsky. I hope I'm not destroying the name. I'm so sorry if I am. Thank you for joining us from Cyprus. All right, guys. So I'm just trying to do this so we can have a lot more persons join us on the call. So please, now is a good time to call your friend to come join us on these calls. You don't want to be stingy, right? So let's share the gospel according to Saint Emmanuel or Saint Cybersecurity this evening and have a lot more persons join us. All right, this is my fellow Abuja brother. Thank you. Good evening, Anthony from Abuja. Wagwan. All right. Thanks, man. Um, no, no, I'm not just complimenting only the United States people. Don't get me wrong. All right, we have somebody from Maryland, USA. Thank you, joining from Eko. Nice, nice, nice. Somebody, other people from Lagos. That is Aluka Timothy. All right, Clinton. I would say I miss you guys too. I miss you guys too. But presently in Akute, it's no problem. You shouldn't be shy of where you're from. I mean, home is home, regardless of what part of the world it is. Just let us know where you're joining from. Emmy from Sweden, thank you. Fit Gabi, where's that guy? I've not seen him this evening. I've not seen his message. I'm looking forward to your message. Nelly from Abuja. Um, Okay, Philip, somebody, yeah, Philip Imok, hi, good evening. I hope you're happy with me now. Somebody joining from Mars now, that's interesting. I'm struggling to believe that, man. I'm struggling to believe that. All right, so while waiting for others, enough with the good evening, Ebute Meta, good evening, Japan, good evening, everybody. Um, Abuja, I'm always biased to my Abuja people. All right. Oh, we have somebody from Benin. That's actually nice. So let's stop the greeting and get to business. So let's have a recap of what we've done so far, guys. Now is a good time to just comment what you've done, like what you've learned, and just drop something you've learned so far in the comment section. Share knowledge, encourage me, right? Let me know that I am actually doing a good job, right? So I don't get fired. Okay. So comment in the comment section what you've learned. And also I would be really happy to hear things like you actually took the bold step to study beyond what we've discussed so far, right? So if you've maybe studied something related to what we've done so far that you don't necessarily understand, or maybe you want to share the knowledge, right? I always encourage people share knowledge, right? Don't get puffed up, right? So with knowledge, right? Share knowledge. Don't be stingy with knowledge. Don't keep knowledge to yourself. And sometimes we actually have some knowledge and then we get things wrongly, right? It is until you share those knowledge, right, that you act that or somebody like me who is your tutor can now say, okay, you know this is correct, but this other thing that you're saying about this is not correct. Okay, so please let's share so far what you've learned. If you've learned something new, just drop in the comment section. Let's make things interactive. And also, like I said, we are trying to wait for other people, right, to join us on this call. So as soon as it is exactly 10 minutes past time, we're gonna hit the ground running. Okay, so if you're Nigeria, I'm sure you get the joke. Let's hit the ground running. Okay, all right. So I'm looking at the comment section. I'm seeing a lot of cybers. Okay, a lot of network ports, all this kind of stuff. Okay, so Esther Joseph is asking if I want to get my IP address, must it be connected to the internet? Not really, right? Remember we said we have two type of IP. We have private and then we have public, right? So your private IP address does not need you to be connected to the internet. All you need to do is to be connected to a network. Okay. Then for your public IP address, right, you actually need the internet for that. All right, so yeah, okay. So all right. Okay, so I think everything is good. People talking, I've learned about ports, about IP, DNS, and all those kind of stuff. Okay, so Onyechi Divine is asking, is CMD a tool for hacking? Not necessarily, right? So CMD is a tool that you actually use for a lot of things, right? Yes, so it is a tool that can be used for a lot of things, right? And then sometime when you are trying to hack, you have to use CMD in order to do what you want to do, right? So a lot of time, right, I in training sessions like this, I tell my student that okay, when one of the things you need to learn as a cybersecurity professional, right, is that when it comes to cybersecurity, and because I'm a pen tester, right, I'm more biased towards pen testing, right? is that you need to structure your mindset in such a way that you are not tool dependent, right? You are not over reliant on tool. Like a lot of people are always like, oh, what tool and what is the next hot tool, right? What is the next hot tool? What tool can I use to hack NASA? What tool can I, if you're in Nigeria, right? Nigerians are always like, once they hear you're a pen tester, they're always like, oh, can you hack CBN, right? Because that's like where all the money of the in the country is, right? In quotes, right? But then it's not about tool, right? What you need to understand that when it comes to cybersecurity, a lot of times it depends on how you think, right? And I tried to explain this in one of our sessions, right? When I explained that, okay, for me to actually, before now, right, for us to extract files from a Windows system, we might not necessarily need to press computer and all those kind of stuff, right? We might just go physical with it, right? So it is a thought, it is a mindset, right? It is a mindset. So you must be able to structure your mind to think like a cybersecurity professional. You must be able to structure your mind to think like a hacker. That is, in my own opinion, the most important thing. Okay. You must first get your mind to that state, right? So now when you've gotten your mind to that state now, if I want to do ABC, what tool do I need to use for ABC? You understand? So you think that's how your thought process should be, right? It shouldn't just be about, oh, I want to learn this tool. I want to use Kali. I want to use Parrot. Kali has 1,000 tool. Parrot has 10,000 tool, right? At the end of the day, it's about the person using the tool. It's not about the tool. Okay. So yeah, now I have a lot of comments. I just hope. Can someone hack your system using your IP? Yes, it depends. If your system is not secure, you could be hacked, right? If I have the IP address in your system and then there's a vulnerability or a loophole somewhere, I can hack you. But if your system is secure, we have a lot of stuff on the internet with their public IP exposed, right? And yeah, that's not how hacking works, okay? How can I get access to this start of this class? Because this is my first time. Okay, so this, if this is your first time, this is Josiah Babatunde. Just go through the YouTube page, right? The Incubator. You should see the recorded version of all our classes. All right. So, oh my God, Josiah is flooding. Josiah is spamming us. All right. So I hope you're happy now, Josiah. All right, guys. So this is 12 minutes past time. So let's get to what we have for today. Let's not get distracted. All right. All right. So welcome to DSC Cybersecurity class, guys. And just for formality's sake, let me introduce myself. My name is Akobi Ajibolu Emmanuel. I work as a penetration tester here in Nigeria, Abuja, Nigeria, right, with a company with the name Cyber Plural, and I work part-time with a company with the name Cyber Research Link in the United States of America. Yes, I have a couple of certifications to myself, CAP, CNSP, EJPT, and I have a couple of other certifications that I am working on at the moment. Yes, I like to say this. I'm a very proud Christian, and yeah, it is a big part of my life, so I love mentioning that. And also, I'm a fine boy, so see my fine picture. Okay. So last time we spoke about IP addressing, ports, DNS, subnetting, and all those kind of stuff, right? But then we didn't get to talk so much about subnetting because we ran out of time. So we'll be picking up from where we stopped the last time, and hopefully we get to finish our slide today, right? So we are going to try to balance our pace, right? We are going to try to balance our speed, okay? And then, yeah, and also at the same time, keep up with time. All right. So please, let's try to avoid distraction today, guys. All right. So we did this the last time, and then we spoke about what exactly is networking, expectation for the last time, and then we did all of this IP address. Let's just keep this and get to what we have for today. Okay, so let's pick up from where we stopped, right? So we spoke about some vulnerabilities, right? We spoke about DNS, right? And then we said, oh, since this is a system that contains all the record matching domains, or URL to IP addresses, right? We can actually, if we can get into and change the values, right? So maybe if this facebook.com, I change it from the IP address that belongs to Facebook, and then I insert my own IP address in that record, right? That means anybody that tries to visit facebook.com is going to be directed to my own page. All right, so that's one of the vulnerability, right? So now you agree with me that having understand this stuff, right, we now understand that, oh, this is how important this system, right, this server is, right? So we must find a way to make sure that nobody can get into our DNS server and change the value, okay? Because once the person changes the value, that is what is going to be sent to the person's browser, and the person is going to be misled to a malicious page, right? Now, let me give you a better picture of this, right? So, for example, there's something called cyber squatting, right? Some of you guys know about cyber squatting, but let's not go into that. Now, there's something known as cloning of web applications, right? Or cloning of web applications, or cloning of applications, right? So I can go to maybe my favorite bank, right? As a cyber, okay, let me not put myself in trouble. Who am I going to pick on in this class? So Sunday, yes, Sunday is a cyber criminal, and Sunday wants to hack his favorite bank because he feels he needs to get some money from them, right? Now, Sunday can choose to clone their web application, okay? Now, having cloned their web application, right, it can build it, it can now have his own copy of that web application. Okay, so once he has his own copy of that web application, he can decide to host it online. So now it's going to look exactly like what? It's going to look exactly like the legitimate web application. But remember now, this web application is actually being controlled by Sunday, right? It's actually being controlled by Sunday. Okay, let's follow along. I'm building up, I'm going somewhere with this, right? Now, this web application is being controlled by Sunday. Now, if Sunday can get to the public DNS server, okay, if Sunday can get to the public DNS server, right, where everybody is reaching in order to get to the Sunday's favorite bank web application, right? If Sunday has access to that, Sunday can now decide to host that website, right? Remember, Sunday is in control of that website, right? You can decide to host it, to make it public. Now, he's now going to put his own IP address. He's going to pair it with what? With the domain name, right? That means Sunday has poisoned the DNS server. Okay, now, if anybody's trying to visit that same bank web application, remember, you make your request in your browser. Now, when you make the request in your browser, it's going to go to the DNS server to retrieve the IP address. And then once you retrieve it, it now tells your system where to go to. Now, remember that what is now on the server is what? Is Sunday's IP address. That is his own server IP address. Now, so when your system or anybody's system goes to visit the DNS server and extract this value, they are extracting Sunday's what? Malicious IP address. And once it gets returned to their system, you will be directed to that place. And now when you are getting there, it is looking exactly like the what? Like the legitimate system. So there's no need for you to what? To suspect. And then innocent you will now what? Enter in your username and password. And once you enter in your username and password, this username and password is not going to the legitimate place. Remember that this is Sunday masquerading himself as what? As your favorite banking application or your favorite bank, like as your favorite bank, right? Now, with access to your username and password, Sunday can just go go to the legitimate web application and what enter in your username and password, and it has access to all your hard-earned money. Okay, so I hope you guys are getting a clearer picture of why the DNS server is very important. That means we must make sure that we what properly protect our DNS server. Okay, now this is a case of Sunday trying to cut away with people's money. Okay, now let me give you another scenario. Now there are times where attackers are not necessarily after money. They are probably afterwards, after tarnishing a company's image, right? So let's say, for example, with the same case, right? But let's look for somebody else to pick on this time around. Who am I? Okay, Melody. So Melody has access to a DNS server, but Melody does not want to steal people's money. Melody is all about bragging. A Melody is all about gaining reputation. The Melody is all about showing how good she is in the hacker world. Okay. So now Melody decides to, in place of the legitimate organization IP address, Melody switches it for some funny looking web application or some malicious web application. Okay, or maybe a pornographic web application. Right. So imagine somebody trying to visit their bank application, and when they enter in the URL, is their browser is bringing up a pornographic web application. Right. So that's right. Although now here's something you guys need to understand, right? Sometimes the hacker might not get the organization, because in this case now we've not even hacked the banking application, right? We've not hacked the banking application. All we just did is we are directing people to the wrong place, right? But now a lot of people out there in the wild do not know that this is what is happening. So overall, this is going to paint a bad image for the banking application or the banking company, right? And then also they are going to lose money. Okay, so I hope this is clear, right? I hope this is clear, right? So this is what we need to understand, right? Now, all what I've explained now, I'm just trying to build your mind up as a cybersecurity professional. Okay. All right. So now you can start. These are just two scenarios. Now, as a cybersecurity professional, you should look for different scenarios that are possible. And then your job is to what? If either as a defender, right, you try to what? To prevent it, right? Or if you are into offensive security, like a penetration tester, your own is to look for ways that this can happen and report it to the organization that employ you. Right? So someone is asking, so how do we protect our DNS from Melody and Sunday? Beautiful question. I love this question. Ike Chukwemeka. Very, very beautiful question. Right? We are going to get to some of those stuff, but there are some easy things you can check, right? Make sure the DNS is well protected, right? Make sure there are no vulnerabilities on it, right? Patch it, make sure it is up to date, right? But now, before we get into those things, right, a lot of time, our main objective is to teach you how to do these things. If you know how the bad guy is doing this thing, you can easily know, since you know what gave you access to it, you can say, oh, since this is what is giving me access to this system, let's block it. You understand? So as we progress in this class, right, we are going to say, Okay, so this is what gave us access. This is what led to this, right? So since I know this is, it is easy for you to just say block it, right? Do you understand? I hope you guys are following. Okay. Someone is saying, oh, this is Sunday. Someone is saying me and Melody have a meeting after this class. Oh my God, please, you guys should stay safe. I mean, if you guys get caught and I'm invited to the court of law to prove that you are criminals, I'll be very happy to to find some incriminating stuff and make sure that you spend the deserved time in jail. Okay, so that's just on a lighter note. So I hope this is well understood, right? Well understood. So thank you. Now, next thing we want to talk about is subnetting. So next thing we want to talk about now is subnetting. Okay. So what you can see here, we have subnetting. So let's just get to. So for the sake of this class, right? Let's just look at subnetting from a very high level, right? So when we talk about subnetting, we are talking about dividing a network into smaller and manageable sections. Okay? Now, there's a lot more that happens when it comes to subnetting, but for the sake of this class, let's look at it from this perspective. Okay? So it involves dividing a network into smaller and manageable sections. So there are a lot of reasons why we want to subnet a network. Now, when an organization have built a network, right? We have something we call classes of network. Okay, so we have class A, we have class B, we have class C, we have class D, and then we have class E, 5 classes of network. Now, the different classes of network dictate the size of the network. Okay, right? Now, there are various reasons why we want to subnet a network. Now, somebody might be asking that, how do I always remember what subnetting is? Just think of it as 2 words brought together, sub and networking, and that should make sense to you. I mean, I feel that should make sense. Sub networking, right? So we are breaking it into subnets. We are breaking a network into sub networks, right? Smaller fragments of the network. Subnetting, not letting, please. Subnetting. All right, Naji. Okay. Now, thank you very much, Jimmy Tokwe. Okay. Breaking it into smaller network. Now, there are a lot of reasons we do subnetting, like I was explaining, right? One of the reasons is we don't want to waste network addresses. Remember, a lot of people, like I explained, a lot of devices around the world still use IPv4, and there are not enough spaces, right? So subnetting is like one of the avenues that we are using to manage the space of the IP addresses available, right? And then now let's take a look at it from a security perspective, right? Now we can have one network, okay? We can have one network, but then we decide to subnet the network. Now, by the time we subnet the network, okay, that means these different subnets are smaller chunks of that big network. Now, why do you want to do this? It helps organizations to organize their departments. Okay, it helps organizations restrict access, and it also helps organizations reduce congestion. So now let me explain. Now, have you ever been to maybe an office, right? Maybe in your office, they'll tell you, oh, the HR department, the network cannot communicate with the development team department. That is actually subnetting in place. So although you guys belong to the same network, one part of this network cannot talk to another part of the network, right? Okay, now, same thing applies, right? One part of the network cannot talk to another part of the network, right? Now, another reason is majorly when it comes to security, subnetting helps to prevent, help to de-escalate an attack. Now, let me explain. Now, let's say, for example, you have a network, right? So a network that has not been subnetted, right? We call it a flat network, right? Now, who am I going to pick this time around? Utobo Edward. So Edward is a hacker, right? Now Edward has gotten into Naji's organization. Okay. Now, having gotten into Naji's organization, Edward, after getting into their network, right, having hacked into their network, discovered that, oh, I can reach all the systems. So that is like an easy win for who? For Edward. Okay. Now imagine that Edward gets into James Damilare's network. Okay. Right? Now, but James Damilare's network has been subnetted, right? Okay. But now, that means having subnet it, right? That means HR department in James Damilare's network cannot communicate with development team network, right? Now, Edward was able to hack into a system in what? In the HR department, right? But Edward is looking to escalate his attack, right? Now, what subnetting does for us, it restricts what? The level of damage that Edward can actually do on that network. So Edward is confined into a department. Okay. Now, so what does that mean for the organization? It also helps them to what? Reduce the level of damage that can be done by Edward. Okay, do you understand? Now, there's a lot more happening, but I'm just trying to put things into perspective, and then we are doing a lot of things from a very high level. Okay. So now, in the world of security, right, we always say, oh, no organization is 100% secure, right? So we always try to reduce the level of damage that is being done. Okay. So now that speaks to what? Restricting access. Now, restricting access not just for employee, but also for attackers should in case an attack successfully happens. Okay, so subnetting, right? Dividing a network into smaller and manageable units. Okay, now why do we want to subnet? So also it want to use it for easy interaction, right? So somebody in the HR department probably does not have anything to do with the development department, right? So okay, in order for us to make sure that things are happening or working well, right, in the HR department, in the HR department, right, things are working very well, right? Then we just say, okay, HR department, this is your own subnet. Then everything happens quick there, right? Rather than adding HR departments to the large network where a lot of everybody. Remember, a network is just like in the network, there's probably something like like a highway, right? Imagine if everybody is trying to use that road, that means there's going to be congestion, right? So that speaks to reducing the congestion. So someone is asking, how is subnet different from VLAN? VLAN is one of the implementation, right? Is one of the implementation for subnetting. I saw a question on DMZ. Okay, so if you don't understand some of these things, no problem. Okay, so DMZ, right, is usually placed in a subnetwork. Okay, so that is like a place that we can expose to the internet where damages can happen. And then we are sure if the damage is happening in the DMZ, it is not getting into the other part of the network. Okay. Okay, so someone is asking, does that mean subnetwork cannot communicate with each other? Subnetwork can communicate with each other. So I just want to be clear on that, right? But most time in organization, right, it is being implemented in a way that subnets usually cannot communicate with each other. Okay, So remember we said it is just smaller chunks of the network, right? So after breaking the network into smaller chunks, now we can now decide to write rules and say, okay, we don't want this small part of the network talking with this other part of the network. Okay. So, okay, now I put myself in trouble. I mentioned DMZ and people are asking what exactly is DMZ. Okay, so it is DMZ, not DMD. Okay, so DMZ is known as demilitarized zone, right? In organizations, in large enterprise organizations, right? DMZ is a part of the network, right? That there's something called okay, I don't want to put myself in trouble this evening because we are trying to cover a lot, right? But just think of DMZ as a part of the network that we are putting on the internet. The other part, we are keeping them secret. Okay, so if anything bad should happen on that DMZ, although it still belongs to our network, the impact is going to be restricted to that area. It is not going to get to the other part of the network. So think of it as a place that we can allow some level of threat to occur. It's a place that we can allow some level of risks to occur. All right. So thank you very much, guys. Let's run. Let's run. So now, when it comes to subnetting, there's something called subnet marks. Okay. All right. So there's something called subnet marks. Okay. And then, so usually, if you should check when you checked your IP address the last time, you probably saw your IP address with some 255.255.255.0, right? Something like that, or probably you saw it with /24. Okay, right? So what does this mean? Like, this is telling you the subnets. Okay, this is telling you the class of network that you belong to. Okay. All right. So let's run through this. God. So we are going to, okay, so subnet mask or CIDR, right? So remember I mentioned that there's something called class of IP address, right? Now, class of IP address defines the number of devices that are allowed in an IP space. Okay. So it defines all right. Okay. So let's move. Right. So for example, right, we have like a university department, right? Now, admins can be placed on the network with the IP address 192.168.10 sorry, .10.0/24. Okay, then students can be placed on another network, right, with 192.168.20.0/24, right? Then the lab can be 192.168.30.0/24, right? Now we know that, oh, anybody that is a student, okay, anybody that is a student that joins the network, their IP address, now this zero, now when we have /24, that means this last part is what is going to be changing for everybody. So let's say, for example, James Damilare joins the network. So James Damilare IP address will be 192.168.20.1. Okay, now Melody Idika, right, joins the subnetwork as a student, also joins the network as a student also. Melody's IP address will now be 192.168.20.2. Okay, then James Orimoloye joins the network, and then his own IP address is going to be 192.168.20.5, and it continues like that for everybody that keeps joining the network until we fill up that space, which is what, .255. Okay, now let's say for the staffs now, maybe for the admin, somebody like Francis joins the network as an admin, as a staff in the university, right? Francis is going to get 192.168.10.1. The next person who joins, Toyosi, is going to get 192.168.10.2. Okay, and then let's say someone like Ezekiel should join, and then Ezekiel is going to be getting .3, and it continues like that. Now, remember the last time we said that the IP address is like the person's identity on the network. Okay, so it's kind of like your identity on the network. So let's say, for example, now somebody commits a crime. Okay, somebody commits a crime. Okay, now, and then we check the IP address of the person. Okay, and then we see that the IP address is 192.168.10.anything. Now, what does subnetting allows for us? Right? Subnetting allows that we don't have to be checking the entire network. We already know that the attack is happening from where? From one of the admin. Okay, so now we've already reduced the workload that we are doing. Now, someone is asking, why is it /24? Very beautiful question, and I love that. Why is it /24? Now, remember that the last time we said that in an IPv4 space, each part of the IP address is known as what? As an octet, right? We didn't go too deep into how that works, but we said, okay, so let me try to explain. But I'm going to try not to get myself in trouble and confuse you guys, okay? Because we are trying to move with speed this evening. Okay, now in primary school, if you are in Nigerian, okay, in primary school, if you are in Nigerian, one of the very first things they told you in your computer science class, right, is that computers only understand ones and zero. Okay, now let's follow. Please pay attention so you don't get confused. Now, computers only understand ones and zero. Okay, now that means this 192.168.10.0./24, right, that we are using for human readability purpose is not actually what it is to the computer. So this value that we are having here is actually being represented by what? By binary in the computer side, at the computer end. Okay, now remember we said it is an octet. That means it can only take 8 values it can only take 8 binary values. Now remember that binary values can only be 0 or 1. Okay, binary values can only be 0 or 1. Please, let's follow. Let's pay attention, guys. Let's not get distracted. Okay. So having explained it, if you should bring out your paper and biro, or you go to Google and you write 8 ones binary and then you convert it to decimal, it is going to give you what? 255. It is going to give you 255. That means the maximum value when we convert it from binary to decimal is what? 255. That's why we can go from 1 to 255. Now, if we have 7 zeros with 1 1, that is 1. If we have 6010, that is 2. Convert it from binary to decimal. Okay. Now, how does that affect what Emmanuel is explaining? Okay. Now, 8 digits now in this first part. Okay, if you this 8 digits for this 192, remember it is actually binary value. Okay, this 192 is actually binary that has been converted to decimal, right? If you should convert it at the end of the day, this is 8 digits that you are seeing as 192. Now, this 168 is also another 8 digits. This 10 is another 8 digits. This 0 is also another 8 digits. Okay. Now, when it comes to networking, right, we have what we call the host bits and the network bit. Okay, now when you see /24, they are just telling you that, oh, we are taking three parts of this, three of these parts is the network bits. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of, I'm getting confused and I have to hold on. I have to hold on. So I think I'm losing a lot of you guys. I am losing a lot of you guys. Now, let me just get this through and then I'll go back to explaining. So just follow me. You don't have to understand yet. Just tell me, Emmanuel, I'm following you. And that's what I need. You don't need to understand for now. Just say, Emmanuel, I'm following you. Just keep following me. And then when I recap it, it will make a lot more sense. Okay? So just follow me. Now, this /24 is telling you the network bits. Okay, this is telling you. So 8 plus 8 plus 8. Somebody should please check that on your calculator. 8 plus 8 plus 8 is what? Is 24. Right? That is like 8. That's like 8 times 3. That's 24. Okay, so all what this is telling you that, so what this 24 is telling you that, oh, the first 8 bits, right? The first 8 bits is the network, right? Now, remember the example I gave earlier. The only thing that is changing is the last part. That means the first 3 parts of anybody that joins the network is going to be the same. The first 3 parts of anybody that joins the network is going to be the same. Now, remember, I said, oh, for let me look for who will I. Okay, so for Emmanuel, is going to be Emmanuel, who is an admin, is going to be 192.168.10.1. For Ezekiel, is going to be 192.168.10.2. Now, the first 3 parts is the network identity. The last part is what is going to be shared among the user. So that is what this /24 is telling you. It's just telling you that, oh, this first 3 parts. If you check some network now, you see /16. That's telling you that, oh, the first 2 parts, which is going to be, in that case, is going to be 192.168. Then the other 2 parts now, we are going to be changing it among the different users that are joining the network. Okay? All right, so I think some persons are getting it now. Now let me bring out my jotter. I think that might explain it for you guys. So please, my laptop is in dark screen mode, guys. So please, you have to bear with me. All right. So I'm going to try to visualize that for you guys, and it should make more sense. Okay. So let me know if you can see my screen, my jotter, okay? So can you see a dark jotter? Please let me know if you can see my screen. All right, so Samuel said we can see it. All right, thank you. So now, let's say in the network, right? Remember I said each part is actually binary and it is octet. That means it is 8 value. Now it can be 1 or 0. But in this case, let's use 1, 1, 1, 1. Okay, now this first one is confusing us. So let's do it this way. So how many 1 is this? This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Dots. Now let's use 0, 0, 0, 0, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Dots. Let's mix zeros and 1 this time around. 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0. That is how many? 1, 2, 3, 4. Dots. Now let's do 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Now Very important. Please, you guys should pay attention. Please pay attention. Okay, so you guys can't see anything. Please let me know if you can see my screen, guys. Okay. Balogun is saying Balogun is saying he can't see my screen, but other people are saying they can see it. Okay, I should enlarge it a bit more. Okay, that's no problem. So I'll just make it a little bigger. So how is it now? All right, Emmanuel, thank you very much. Thank you, Tolu. Thank you, Ubo. Thank you, Debo. All right. Now, let's count all these digits. We have 4 spaces, right? We have 4 spaces, and each octet can only take 8 values. Each octet can only take 8 values. That means how many digits do we have in total? We have 32 digits in total. Okay, we have 32 digits in total. Thank you very much, Femi Bello. Now, this 32 digits, remember this is going to be changing depending on your IP address. Now, if you convert this 1111, right, to decimal, it's going to give you 255 decimal equivalent. If you convert this 000 to decimal, it's going to give you what? 0. If you convert this 101010, okay, I don't know what this is going to give, so let me quickly Google it and bring back the answer, guys. If you convert this to decimal, it's going to give you 170. Now, if you convert this last one to decimal, it's going to give us what? Let me check that quickly. It's going to give us 240. Okay. It's going to give us 240. So now, at the end of the day, when we are all those IP addresses that you are seeing, all those IP addresses that you've been seeing previously, these ones and 0 is the true representation. Okay, this binary that we have at the top is the true representation. Okay, now please just keep following me. Keep following me, please. Hold me very tightly. Okay. Now, what we were saying is, now when you see /24, this /24, right, we have 2 parts of, now. Let me go back to my, okay, before I go back to my slide, right, I mentioned in my slide, right, that we have 2 parts of IP address. We have the network part, right, and then we have the host part. Now, the network part is just telling you the network that you are joining. Okay. Now, the host part is telling you your own part, the computing device. It's telling you your computing device part. Okay. Now, let's okay. So I'm going to switch screen, then we'll come back here. Okay. So I'm going to switch screen now. So can you guys see my screen, please? Can you see my screen now? Thank you, network bit and host bit. Okay, now notice something. We have different networks here. We have 3 networks. We have admin network, we have student network, and then we have lab network. or subnetwork, whichever one you want to call them. Okay. Now, notice something that what this is saying is that this /24. Now, remember that 24 is how many eights? Is 3 eights, right? Now, what that means is that the last octet is what the IP address for the different users joining that network is going to be what? Oh my God. Now, sorry, I've lost my chain of thought. Okay, so now that means the first three octets, the first three binary octets are not going to be changing. It is only the last 8 that are going to be changing for any user that joins that network. So now, if I just see your IP address, I can know the network that you belong to. Okay, so now that's why I'm saying that, oh, any student that is joining this student network now is going to be 192.168. Remember we say /24, that means we're not touching the first 24 bits. That is the first 3 octets. Okay. So okay, I'm getting some, it is clear. I think so. I think that's good review. That's good review. Okay. All right. So that means the last octet is what is going to be changing. Now, if you join a network that you see /16, if you are seeing a network and you see /16 at the back, right? That means it is the first 16 bits that we are not touching for that network, right? Then the last 16 is what we are going to be using to assign IP address to people joining the network. Now, someone is asking /32. That means the first 32 bits, we are not going to be touching them, right? The last 2 bits is what is going to be changing. You understand? Now, if you can change 8 bits, then you can have, you remember that we said, oh, if you convert 8 bits, right, to decimal, the highest value you can get is 255, right? That means the total number of possible IP address space in that place is 256. Now, somebody is asking, Emmanuel said the highest number is 255. Why is Emmanuel saying the highest? The total number of IP address that we can get is 256. It is because we are counting from 0. So if you count from 0 to 255, you will have how many digits? You have 256 digits. Okay, now if you have /16, that means we can mess with 16 bits. We can be changing 16 bits. So that's a lot more value. Okay. All right. So it's almost 8 p.m. and we've not even gone, so we've not even touched much in our slide today. Okay. So let's take a pause here with IP addressing, and then we'll move a bit, and then I'm going to recommend some resources to you guys that is going to explain some of these things beyond, we just have 2 hours in this class, so let's make the best use of our class. Okay, so going to recommend some resources for that. All right, and then all right, so take a break, guys. If you don't understand it yet, no problem. You're in a very good space. All right. Just like I said, just say, Emmanuel, I'm following you. That's just what I need at this point, right? Remember, I said there are some things at the very first time. I said there are some things I might be explaining, might not make sense to you. It's when you're having your shower that it makes sense. So we are getting to that stage. All right, guys. So just keep following me. That's what I would say. Keep following me, right? Don't feel discouraged. Okay. So keep following me. Keep following me. Very important. So now let's take 10 minutes break. I advise you, right? Just go outside, take a walk, stretch your leg, tell yourself that everything is fine, and let's come back and continue. Okay, let's come back and continue. All right, so let's take a break now. See you in the next 10 minutes, and then we shoot together, guys. All right, thank you. All right, guys. So please, I hope we are back and I hope you can hear me. All right, so I hope you can hear me, guys. Let me know if you can hear me, please. All right, thank you, guys. Thank you. I hope you took a walk like me, and I hope you went to get water to drink. All right, so let's hold up a bit for the IP addressing, right? All we've discussed is good enough for what we want to do tonight. Okay, so let's hold on with that, and then we'll pick up with that as we progress. Okay, so as we progress, there are some things I'm going to be saying that are going to be like some eureka moments. Okay, and then some of the things I've said now will make more sense then. Okay, so just trust me enough to believe that it is okay if you don't understand. Okay, just trust me enough to believe that everything is good if you don't understand all some of the things Emmanuel have said. I trust me, even some of the people who are following me, right? Some of the people that actually understand, right? They probably have been introduced to IP addressing and how it is being assigned and all those kind of stuff, right? So it is perfect if you don't understand at the very first time that it is being introduced to you. Okay, so make sense. All right. Someone says she went to her air fryer, Joy Williams. Okay, that's cool. Are you sure you don't want to fry something for me? Okay. So now let's have key takeaway from what we've discussed so far, because all of this was from last session. Okay. So we discussed that IP addresses identify devices and ports identify services. So that's good enough knowledge for us to progress with what we want to do for this class. Okay, TCP is reliable, UDP is not, it's fast, but it's connectionless, right? Spoke about TCP, UDP, and then DNS translates names into IP address, right? We give an example of what will happen if somebody can change the value of your DNS. Then we said, okay, subnetting structures and secures the network. Okay, so we said, oh, subnetting is like breaking the network into smaller chunks. And the process of trying to explain this subnetting, in the process of us trying to explain how subnetting work and some kind of things, we got into a lot of trouble. But glory to God, we're out of the trouble and we're pushing. Okay, so let's just look at it from the aspect of breaking down the network into structure, and also the fact that, oh, we can actually configure it in such a way that, oh, once we break a network into sub-network, we can tell it that we don't want point A, network A, talking with network B. Okay, and because network A can't talk with network B, if a compromise should happen on network A, we are sure that the compromise is not going to get to network B. So subnetting to an extent helps to secure the network, or rather a better way of putting it is that it would de-escalate the impact of a security breach. Okay, so now let's move to the next part, right? So I had some labs, some things I wanted us to do, because I remember I said this is from the last session, right? So most digital attack involves IP address, ports, or a DNS query, right? So think of a network like a city, right? The IP address is like your house address. Your port is the specific room or the service. Then the DNS is like the city directory, right? It's like maybe like the city record book that anybody can go and check whose house is located at a specific IP address, right? So this is what it looks like when you are trying to browse google.com, right? So this is Francis Omose, right? Searching for a website, right? Then you make a query and then querying to recursive DNS server. So this will now be sent to the DNS server. It's going to check all these DNS server, right? And then once the IP address is gotten, it's going to send it back to your laptop. Then your laptop is going to go to that IP address, and then it's now going to display you the web application. Okay, so that is how this actually works. Okay. So now, what IP address and port do you hit when you visit facebook.com? So what IP address and port do you hit when you visit facebook.com? So now let's do something together, right? Everything we are doing here is purely for educational purpose. What you are seeing me do is by no way being malicious, right? So should in case you choose to do malicious stuff with this knowledge, please, you're on your own, okay? So now, remember we said some ports have some common services associated with them, right? We discussed that previously, right? Some common ports, okay, have some services associated with them, right? And then we said, oh, port 80 is HTTP. Okay, now if you take a look at this request, you are seeing HTTPS facebook.com. So let's start from getting the IP address for facebook.com. So what we'll just do is we'll look for some DNS, we'll get some DNS reversing tool out there on the internet, right? And then we'll be able to get Facebook IP address. So I'm going to open my browser now, and then I'm going to come to Google and say DNS checker. I think we did this the last time. We actually did this the last time. Yeah, I remember. Okay, then once we do this, we can now go to DNS lookup, right? Then we can now enter facebook.com. Okay, so we do facebook.com, right? And then we hit enter, or we look up DNS, and then this will give us the IP address that belongs to Facebook. So result for Facebook, so we can see the various IP address. We actually did this the last time. Okay. So after this, now the next question we have on our slide is what ports? The question is what IP and ports did you hit? Now, this is what HTTPS. This is telling us the service. Now, if we should go back our slide where we spoke about some common TCP and UDP ports, remember we said HTTPS is what? Port 443, like you can see here. Port 443. Okay, so what this means is that when you visit, so let's go to our DNS checker. Let's pick one of these IP address. That's 33. So I'm going to this 31.13.80.36 is the IP address, is Facebook IP address. So I'm going to copy this. Okay, right? I'm going to paste it in my browser, and I'm going to hit enter. Let's see what will happen. Continue to websites. So it's not advisable you do this, but let's see what is going to happen. Oh, something went wrong. Okay. Now we've visited this IP address, but there's something I need you guys to see here. Can you see this? Can you see Facebook logo? Can you see that this belongs to Meta? Okay, so what this means is this is just buttressing, this is just telling us that, oh, this IP address actually belongs to who? To Facebook. Okay, right? So we just did some DNS POC, okay? And then we know that, oh, port 443, since it's HTTPS, it is port 443. Okay, so that's just to further buttress some of the things we've been talking about so far. Okay, so let's move on to some other parts. Okay, so we are done with this, right? So the next question is, what port is used when connecting to a server with SSH? So Let me give you an assignment I'm not going to ask about in our next class. You are going to research about SSH, what SSH is about, and all those kind of stuff. Just carry out a basic research about SSH. Okay. I'm not going to ask you about that assignment the next time. Like I don't need you to submit that. Okay. But then I need you to have that knowledge. It's going to be very profitable if you have that knowledge. But if we take a look at this, you can see that SSH is on port what? Port 22. Okay. SSH is on port 22. All right. So at your own free time, research about SSH and what exactly it is about. Okay. Yeah. So having said all of this, let's get into what we have for today. Okay. Oh, a lot of you guys actually got it. SSH is port 22. All right. Okay. Secure shell. Okay, that's actually nice. Yeah. Okay, so let's jump to the remaining part of what we have for today. So what are my expectations for this next round? This other part of our lesson that we are doing. So what I want to show is how to analyze packets, right? We are going to explain what a packet is, and then some of the knowledge we've gained so far when it comes to ports, some of the knowledge we've gained so far when it comes to IP address, we're actually going to see them in play when we are trying to analyze packets. And then we are going to have like a mini project, okay, where we are going to look at, some kind of interesting things that you've heard about security. We are going to kind of look at it from an investigative perspective. We're also going to look at things from maybe an attacker perspective, right? Maybe you probably heard somebody say, don't use HTTP websites, right? Always make sure that the website that you are submitting your username and password has HTTPS, okay? So we are going to look at what is going to happen when somebody uses an HTTP website. And in the course, let me just give you guys spill a little juice, right? So what we are going to be doing is we are going to be extracting username and password for somebody that actually visited an HTTP website and submitted their username and password, right? And then we are going to be playing a scenario of maybe an attack has happened, the logs for that attack were recorded, and then we are going to look for how we can actually extract that person's IP address. Probably still in that scenario, we are going to be submitting it to court, and then they are going to be getting a hold of that criminal, okay? So that's what we are going to try to do in the course of the next session, okay? And so we are going to be learning how to capture these packets, right? We are going to be learning how to analyze these packets using a tool called Wireshark. Okay, we are going to be using a tool for this. The name of the tool is Wireshark. Now, I know somebody might be so quick to ask, Emmanuel, what is Wireshark? Hold on, calm down. We are going to get there. Remember, I said just follow Emmanuel. Just follow me. I saw somebody wrote in the comments that he or she is now my disciple. No problem. I love that. Follow me as I follow Christ in this cybersecurity journey. Okay? And then having understand how to capture network traffic, how to analyze network traffic. Okay, the next thing we now want to look at, we will now look at some common protocols, right? By protocols, we mean like all those HTTP, HTTPS, SSH, and all those FTP, some of those services, right? Services that we described earlier on. Okay, and then now there are some services that are common. Okay, there are some services that are common, right? Now, for us to say there are some services that are common, that means there are some services that are uncommon. Okay, so if you have an organization that you are protecting as a cybersecurity analyst or as a security defender, right? There are some services that are common to your organization, right? Having understand how your network work, right, which we'll be learning in this class, right? Having understand how to analyze and traffic and all those kind of stuff, right, which we'll be learning in the course of this of this session, right? If you now look at your traffic, right, and you notice some things that are uncommon, you can now tag those things as what? Suspicious. So we are going to be looking at how to spot, right, some common protocol and then recognize malicious traffic. Okay, we are going to look at how to recognize malicious traffic. Now, before we get to all of that, we are going to be looking at some things that that are going to be fundamental for you guys to be able to understand what we are trying to learn, right? But remember, I said earlier on that I'm always careful to make sure that the people I'm teaching or my students are not just over reliant on tool. What is most important is the person using the tool. So don't just think that, oh, once you learn Wireshark, oh, you've learned all there is to investigation and some of that. No, no, no. What will make me most happy is that you recognize why we are using Wireshark and you understand in your own mind first, so that when you are using the tool Wireshark, you actually make it to do what you are thinking in your own mind. Okay, so now let me give you an example. So for example, now we explained that there's something called the denial of service attack. Okay, we explained that there's something called a denial of service attack. Now, you are a security analyst and you've been given a log to analyze. Okay, you've been given a log to analyze. Now, when you open the log, you notice that there's an IP address that is making requests to your organization web server. Is making not just every second, it's making like 20 requests per second. Now, with your understanding of how IT work and some of the things we've discussed so far in this class, are you going to tag that as a normal behavior or as a suspicious behavior? Guys, please, I'm waiting for your answer. Are you going to tag that normal behavior or you are going to tag that suspicious behavior? Thank you very much, Onyinyechi. Thank you, Ifeoluwa Isaac. Suspicious, right? So now, we've identified that this is suspicious, right? So now, what we will now do after this is to pick the IP address and then we'll block it, right? If we block it using any tool that we are going to be using, we are sure that, oh, this person cannot reach our system again and try to do DOS on our system. Okay, now what am I trying to bring out? Wireshark is only a tool that we are able to use to see what is happening, right? And then we are now the one making the judgment that, oh, this is suspicious, this is not suspicious. Wireshark is not the tool in quotes telling you that it is suspicious. Okay, so I want us to get this. I always try as much as possible to make sure that, oh, people don't just think it's all about tool, or once I learn this tool, I become the greatest hacker. Most important is your understanding of how things work. Okay, no, I'm seeing my expectation. All right, so I've not even moved my slide. I'm just setting the pace for what we have to do today. Okay, so thank you guys. Lovely answer. Lovely answer. Everybody's saying suspicious, and I'm so glad I'm so glad you guys are on the same page with me. All right. So now these are just my expectation. Now, before we get to this, we already spoke about TCP, but we didn't go too deep about it. We didn't go too deep into it. Okay, so we need to understand what TCP is. Okay, so we need to understand what TCP is, right? Biz did a great job on introducing you guys to TCP IP model and all those kind of things. Now, TCP is a protocol we use when it comes to communication. right, on the internet or on the network. Okay? It is a protocol that is being used for communication on the network. Okay? Now, now the question we want to start with is, what is a protocol? I think that's a good place for us to start, because some people might be saying, oh, Emmanuel is saying TCP is a protocol. So what exactly is a protocol? A protocol is just a set of rules. Okay? It's just a set of rules of how something is supposed to happen. Okay, so when we say TCP, TCP is just a rule of how communication is going to be happening. Okay, now remember we said IP, Internet Protocol, is just, oh, these are the rules when it comes to the internet. TCP protocol. So this is the rule that guides anybody that wants to use TCP to communicate. Now, the rule says that before two people communicate, they must have something called a three-way handshake. Okay. TCP protocol says, okay, when two people want to communicate, right, they must have three-way handshake. And what do they mean by three-way handshake? It's just them trying to make sure that they can actually communicate with each other. So the first person, which in this case is, we are calling this the client, right, wants to communicate with the server. Now, you that are connecting to that website, you are the client, right? Remember we said the server is something that is serving you a service. Okay. Now, you will first send a connection with sync. I want to connect. Think of sync. Okay, I want to synchronize with you. I want to connect with you. Now, the server is going to reply that, oh, I have acknowledged your sync request. Okay. It will reply you or your system that, oh, sync acknowledge. I have acknowledged that you want to talk to me, right? And then your system will now reply that, okay, I have acknowledged that you have acknowledged that you are ready to talk to me. So once this three-way handshake has been established, communication can now be happening between these two systems. Okay? That means two of them have acknowledged that they want to be talking to each other and they've agreed. Okay, now remember we mentioned something earlier and I saw some questions, right? Some people were asking, okay, what is UDP? There are two ways communications happen over the internet, right? We have communication happening through TCP, we have communications happening through UDP. Now, for TCP, two people must agree before they start communicating using the three-way handshake. Okay? All right. Now, for UDP, two of them do not need to agree before they start communicating. But that's just by design. So let's not lose focus. Let's pay attention, because in this case now we are talking about TCP. Right? So somebody might want to ask me, Emmanuel, go deep into UDP. Explain what UDP is. That's your second assignment. Research about UDP, okay? Don't worry, just a few Google search or ask ChatGPT is going to give you an excellent explanation of TCP, UDP. Tell it to compare them, and then it's going to demystify all of that for you. Okay, so let's move on with our slide. We already established how TCP works. We already established, or we already explained that, okay, for two people to communicate, right? They are going to say, sync, I want to synchronize with you. Say, okay, I acknowledge that you want to synchronize with me, and then okay, I acknowledge that you want to synchronize with me, and then communication will start happening, right? So that's it. Now, so this is just it. Client sends sync, server replies sync, and then after that, they proceed with the communication. Okay, now we can actually visualize this thing that I just explained using Wireshark. We can actually visualize this using Wireshark, but If I should do that now, you guys are going to start complaining. So let's skip this. And then when we get to the Wireshark part, we are going to do this and everything will make a lot of sense. Okay. So Amos, I actually love this your analogy. Very beautiful. He said Amos 3:3. Oh my God. Amos, you must be a pastor. All right. Okay, Tunde no Amos carried Bible and enter this thing. Okay. All right. Okay, so let's get back to work. So now, having explained this thing now remember we said there are two ways communication happen, right? Which is maybe TCP or UDP. TCP, two of them will first come together and say, I want to communicate with you. Say, okay, it's okay, let's communicate. UDP, they don't establish a connection. They don't establish a connection. Okay. Now, the next thing we want to look at is something called a packet. You probably have heard about packets, right? So what exactly is a packet? Right. Now, a packet is a chunk of data sent over a network, right? Fundamentally, it is a chunk of data sent over a network. So what does this mean? Now, we already explained that, there are two ways people can communicate. They can either follow TCP to communicate or they follow UDP. For TCP, two of them must agree that they want to communicate before communication happens. For UDP, they do not agree. Somebody just come and start sending information to the other person. Whether or not the person wants to receive the information, right, there's no agreement. Now, but at the end of the day, what is happening? Information is being shared. Now, this information is also known as what? Is data. So now we are now saying a packet is a chunk of data sent over the network. Now, that means when an information is being sent over through the network, right, this information is going to be broken into small parts or small chunks or smaller parts, known as what? As the packets. So basically, packets are the information being transmitted through the network. Please, does that make sense, guys? Does that make sense? So packet is the information moving through the network, right? But now, when you are sending the information, you are not just sending it as one large chunk. Okay, you're not just sending it as one large chunk. You are going to be breaking it into pieces, right? And you're going to be sending it one after the other, right? So those pieces that you're sending it through are known as what? As your packets. Okay. Okay, Onyibo Tosin say I should explain again. No problem, right? So, like I said, packets are the information that you're sending through the network, right? Now, as I'm speaking to you through my computer, right, through this class, right, my voice is being converted to something that the computer understands, right, and is being sent to your own end, right, as a packet. Then your system is receiving it and converting it back to something that you can understand. Now, as I'm talking to you, what I'm saying is not being sent as one. It's being sent in small parts. But all this is happening real quick. It's being sent in smaller chunks. So it is being sent in a number of packets, all arriving at your system, and then your system converts it back to something that you can understand. Okay. So the information I'm transmitting to you guys through this class is being sent as packets. Everything that you guys are typing on your system, right, as comments that I'm looking at, right? As soon as you type it and you press enter, it's going to be sent, it's going to be converted to a packet, and then it's going to happen, go through all the necessary infrastructure, and then it's going to get to my own laptop over here, right? And then my system is going to interpret it, right, and display that packet to me in an intelligent manner. Okay, now if you send long epistle, right, like when you send heartbreak message, oh my god, right, try to explain all those stuff, right? Other message might not be sent as one packet. It's going to be sent in chunks, right? Remember, I would say packet is a chunk of data sent over the internet, right? It's going to be sent in chunks, right? But remember that it's happening very, very fast. So to the end user, is looking at is arriving as one. Okay, it's looking like it's arriving as one. Okay. So I hope this makes sense. I hope this makes sense. Okay, now your packet has a structure. So we must take note of this. Don't worry, we are going to be visualizing packets, Obadiah. Okay, so you guys just follow me. You guys just follow me, please. We are going to be seeing what a packet looks like. Okay, that's what we are going to be using Wireshark. But we first must understand what a packet is and how it looks like, so that when we see it, we know it. Okay. Okay. Now, a packet has what we call the header, and then it has another part known as what? Payload. So a packet has two parts, the header and the what? The payload. Okay. It has the header and the payload. All right. Now, the header is the part that is going to tell the pack all the information that is going to is where the information telling where the okay, now please, I'm trying to be careful here. The header is where the metadata are going to be stored, right? The payload is where the actual information is being stored. Now, the next question somebody might want to ask is, what is a metadata? The metadata is going to be the part of the packet that is going to say the address where you are sending the information to. That is going to be what? The IP address. The protocol or the service where you are sending that information to, the port number, and all those kind of things, right? And then the payload is what? The actual message that is being sent. Okay, so remember, packet has what? Header and payload. The actual information that the person is sending is contained in what? The payload section. Then information about where it is going, like the IP address we are sending it to, the port number, and all those kind of stuff are contained in where? The header section. Okay, so think of it as an envelope, right? A letter with an envelope, right? So in the letter, right? In the letter you're writing, right? There's going to be like an header, right? Where you're going to say, you are going to put your house address and all those kind of things. Then there's going to be a body part, which is the actual letter that you're writing, right? Then that's what you now do. Dear Folayemi, right? I am happy to inform you that you have just won $50 billion. I am happy to inform you those kind of interesting stuff, right? Now, remember that in your conventional letter, there are two parts. You have the header part, which is the address, where the letter is coming from, where the letter is going, the date that you are sending the letter, and all those kind of stuff, right? And then the body of the letter, which is the actual information you are sending to that person. Okay, so think of a packet like that. That means if you should get a packet, there's going to be a session where you are going to see information about the IP address you are sending the letter to, the port number that you are sending the letter to, the IP address the packet is coming from, and all those kind of stuff. Then the body is where we are going to see the actual information that is being transmitted. Okay. Now, someone is asking, James Mary Benedict is asking, oh, so what is the difference between IP and packet? Remember that IP is what? Is like the address. IP address is the identity, the place you are sending the information to. The packet is the information we are sending being cut in bits, being cut in chunks, right? And part of this now, if you are sending an information somewhere, if you are sending a letter somewhere, you have to specify the address it is going to. You have to specify the address it is coming from, right? Like your formal letter, right? So similar, your packet is, that means your packet is going to contain the IP address it is leaving from, and it is going to also contain the IP address it is going to. All those information are going to be contained in the packet. And then the actual information that is being transmitted through that packet. Okay, so I think now is a good time. No, not yet. So let's proceed a little bit and then we'll bring out Wireshark and show some of this stuff. Okay. So anatomy of packet. So you are going to have the ether, header, right? These are like different part of the packet. You don't have to memorize this. We are going to be visualizing everything. So no problem. So we are going to be having the ether header, which is like the MAC address. We are going to be having the IP header, like the source and the destination IPs that's involved in the messaging. Then we are going to have maybe like TCP or UDP header. So it's going to be telling us, okay, this information that we are visualizing, was it sent using TCP or was it sent using UDP, right? We are going to see all of that, right? Then maybe the port it is leaving from, the port it is going to, all those kind of stuff, and some other flags, right? And then we are going to see the actual message, the payload, information that is being sent. Okay, so yeah. All right. So now the question is, why do we want to analyze packets? Right? Why do we want to analyze packet as security professionals? We already explained some of that while building up for the class, right? In the what we're expecting session, right? So we want to look at how we can monitor for unusual traffic. Want to maybe if there's a network issue, we want to look at where the problem is coming from. If there's malicious stuff happening, we want to detect it. And then maybe something bad has happened and then you are brought in as a forensic expert to investigate it, right? You can actually do this through packet analysis. Okay. All right. So now, the tool we are going to be using for this, Wireshark. So there are a lot of tools that you can actually use for this. So let's not get it mixed up. There's Wireshark. There's oh my god, why is my brain freezing right now? I can't remember the CLI equivalent of Wireshark. Let me quickly check. Yeah. So, but basically, there are a lot of tools you could use for analyzing network traffic, okay? But Wireshark is just what we are going to be using for this class. Okay, so why Wireshark and what exactly is Wireshark? So Wireshark is basically an open source network protocol analyzer. Okay, basically an open source network protocol analyzer, right? You can use it to capture, you can use it to filter, and you can use it to analyze either live or recorded network traffic. Thank you so much, Dari. TCP dump. That's the name. Thank you. TCP dump. Right? You can use it to capture, filter, or analyze live or recorded network traffic, right? And it is supported on Windows, it is supported on Mac, it is supported on Linux. Okay, yes, thank you, Ezekiel. There's also T-Shark. There's also T-Shark, right? Can we use Nmap? No, Nmap is used for a different purpose. Okay, Nmap is used for network scanning. Nmap is short for network mapper. Okay, so yeah. So now, for those who might be interested in Wireshark, right? Feel free to go to your Google, search, download Wireshark. So I'm going to be doing that now. So let's just for demonstration purposes, download Wireshark. Okay, let me use this other one so everybody can see it. Download Wireshark. So if you should, this is the download page. Let me make this bigger for those using their mobile phone. And then click on download, right? And then you'll be brought here. You can see the different available versions. So if you are using Windows, download Windows. If you are using Mac, download Mac. If you are using Linux, you want to do the one for Linux, okay? And yeah, so for those, so this is like the third assignment I'm giving you in this class, okay? So download Wireshark before our next session, okay? So you can follow along, okay? So now Wireshark has different interface, right? We have capture area, we have packet list pane, we have packet detail pane, we have packet bytes pane, we have packet filter bar, okay? So I'm going to bring up my Wireshark now and show you guys what Wireshark looks like. Okay. So I think everything is good. So let me reshare my screen now. And you should see Wireshark, the interface, okay? So let me know when you can see my screen, guys. Let me know if you can see my screen. Okay, so packet tracer, Cisco packet tracer is for a different reason. For those asking, and I'm not sure if there's Wireshark for phone. I'm not sure about that. But I mean, you could check that. And if you don't see Wireshark for phone, you could also check if there's one you can use for your mobile phone. But honestly speaking, I haven't tried doing that on my phone. Okay, so I can't really speak to that. All right. Okay, so you can see Wireshark, you can see the interface, some other things. Now you can see I have like different network interface, right? Different network I'm connected to, different part of my system where some network communication is happening. And then you can see this part where this is looking like more activity is taking place and all those other kind of stuff, right? Now, usually there's an interface, there's something responsible for where your communication is happening. Okay, oh, somebody's saying zoom in your screen. Okay, so let me. Fit Gabi, I'll be Fit Gabi. I'm just seeing you tonight. I hope you are good. So view, all right. Zoom. Okay. So, okay, it's not zooming in, guys. So you might need to manage what we have here. It's not getting bigger than this. So sorry about that, guys. Okay, so but just try to manage with this, okay? Try to manage this. All right. So now you can see different if so you can see like different network activities happening on my system. So you can see this different stuff happening, right? So we have something called network interface, right? That's like the network where activities happening on, right? The different network where activities are happening on. Okay, so yeah, so this is Wireshark for today. So it's almost time. So we are going to be taking a pause here, right? Remember my third assignment, download Wireshark on your system, right? If you're using phone, you might want to do a little research on Wireshark equivalent for your phone before our next class. And then by the next class, I'm going to be showing you how to use Wireshark. We're going to be visualizing some network traffic and some other kind of stuff. All together, we are going to be seeing a packet, the different part of packet, and hopefully the interesting interesting scenarios that I described earlier on, we are going to be looking at those together. All right. So thank you very much. Someone is asking, what is the first assignment? Research about UDP, right? If my memory serves me right. I said, check about UDP and how to just research about it. Okay. All right. So thank you so much for joining tonight, guys. Um please don't feel discouraged. We're already getting to the part that looks a little bit hard, right? So just remember I prepared you guys ahead. Just know that it is perfectly normal if some things are not making sense. You just have to push through, okay? So just keep going with me and trust me, by the end of it all, it's all going to make sense. The effort is going to be worth it, and you are going to enjoy it. All right. So thank you guys. So Taiwo Rachel is saying, what exactly? What is the exact one to download, sir? Because they are three different. So I'm saying if you are using Windows, download the one for Windows. If you are depending on your system, that's the one you have to download. All right. So Chukwudi Ezekiel, these American movies have been deceiving us. Hackers look like genius only. Oh my god. I was also deceived, Chukwudi, man. I was also deceived, brother. But at the end of the day, I enjoy my job. All right. So thank you so much, guys. I wish you guys a good night rest for those in night time like myself, and for other people, have a wonderful day. All right. So thank you, guys. Bye bye.